Hello and welcome to my microbakery. This video is on bake day, which is the day before my farm stand. I bake a ton of stuff. I actually spent 12 hours in the kitchen this day. So I thought I'd make a video, show you my process with things that I do on bake day, and then also answer some questions I've been getting. So I posted a video when I first started my microbakery, and there's been a lot of questions on how I got started. There's questions about the farm stand and how I get people to not steal. I have to look through the rest of the questions, but I think I got a lot on the double loaf pan method. So I'll start off with the journey of my microbakery. Now, I started sourdough about a year ago, and I actually practiced for close to 8 months before I even felt comfortable knowing that I wanted to, start a farm stand. And while I was doing this process, practicing almost every single day, I decided to get my cottage food license, and this was way before I even decided to start a farm stand. I just knew I wanted to sell at some point. So I got my cottage food license back in December 2024. And this process was super easy. There might be different laws for different states. I know most states do have the cottage food law in place, which is really nice. But the process in my state was to first get certified through a health and safety food course. Once you had that, you had to present them with the certification, and then you can start your application. I think besides that, they also required like a water bill just to know that my water is not coming from like a well or anything, otherwise it would need to be tested. So I think I provided that water bill along with the certification of my food course to them before starting the application. They have an email that you can reach out whenever for any questions or anything like that. And I did this entire process online. Even the food course was online. It honestly took me less than a day to complete. And all the information I found through my state's website. So once I completed my application, which was very simple by the way, it asks for like your address, the certification that I mentioned before, along with the water bill, and then it asks you what you plan to be selling. Now my state is pretty strict. They don't allow like potentially hazardous food such as like cakes with, cream frosting and stuff like that. So in the application you actually have to list out every single product that you plan on selling. For me, I listed like muffins, breads, bread rolls, bagels, stuff like that. So once I submitted the application, I then got contacted by whoever runs their cottage food department, and they wanted me to provide like fake labels for how I would label my food, because it's very strict in the way that you label. You need to list every single ingredient in the product along with like any sub-ingredients. So for example, if you are listing like bread flour, you need to list the exact like ingredients that make up the bread flour. And you also need to call out any allergens such as like wheat, soy, milk, stuff like that. So basically I had to do a replica of my labels and send it to them, and then they had to approve it just to make sure I knew like exactly how this process worked. Once they approved it, they sent me my cottage food license through email, which by the way needs to get renewed every year. And just like that, it was super easy. Now, as I mentioned before, I got my cottage food license in December, and I just started my farm stand and business in June. So again, throughout that time, I was just practicing a lot. And when June rolled around, I went and registered my LLC, Sarah the Bakery. That way I had the cottage food license, and then I also had a registered business. This allowed me to get business insurance as well. As a food business, even though I am so tiny and only open 1 day a week, I still wanted to make sure I had the liability insurance, just because you never know, especially with like food. So yeah, the process of registering my LLC was even easier than the cottage food license. Again, everything was online through my state website, and it really took probably 2 days. Now, I also opened a bank business account. That way all of my sales and expenses could come through that one card. It gets a little tricky when you are combining that with your personal finances, and I didn't want to get into any trouble, and I wanted it to be super clear when it comes to tax season. Now, once I did that, we actually found an old TV stand on the side of the road in our town, and we converted it into a farm stand. It was a super easy and quick project, and this allowed me to have something to sell out of. I obviously could have done like a table and a canopy in my front yard, but I wanted to make it like a cute little experience for people, and I thought the farm stand would do just that. Now, a lot of questions I get are, how do I keep people from stealing? Because my farm stand is fully self-service. It is cash and Venmo. It's kind of hard for me to answer this question just because I have I'm really lucky with my neighborhood. I haven't had anyone do this just yet. I do label everything with the price so everything is clear. I also have a menu in case they miss that. I also have like an arrow pointing to our cash box and our Venmo QR code, just so it's perfectly clear that this is like, for sale. I do have a Ring camera in my front yard, so I potentially could see if anything were to happen, but I haven't had to check that so far, and I'm crossing my fingers that I won't. But let's say if that does happen, I was thinking of getting little like portable cameras to hang by the canopy, just to see. Also, since I have started pre-orders, I wouldn't want anyone taking a pre-order when they're not supposed to. I also saw a lot of comments on the double pan method, which you saw at the beginning of this video. I didn't want to cut that out just because I really love the double pan method, and it's honestly the only reason I'm able to scale up and have a microbakery. But in my last video, I shared that I was using rubber bands and it's to hold the loaf pans together, and it's kind of difficult. I got a lot of advice saying to use binder clips. Now, for whatever reason, the loaf pans I have, which are from Marshall's, the binder clip will not actually clip onto it because there's not like an indent to do that. So unfortunately, I have to use rubber bands still. But I did recently purchase a bread oven. I'm so excited for that to come in. And I'm really excited to scale up. I'm hoping that bread oven will save me time and also improve the quality of my bread. So yeah, I'm hoping everything is looking up for the future for my little microbakery. But if you guys have any questions, please leave some comments down below, and I will make a separate video if you guys like, walking you through the details of the entire process if needed, or answering any specific questions, because I do see that a lot of people want to get started doing this, and I think that's absolutely amazing. These were the products all fully packaged up. Some went to pre-orders and the rest were left for the farm stand. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. Bye!